Good day, my local drones. It is me, Bio Gundam, and I'm back again for another video. So today, we're doing another biomechanical podcast, and we are going to be doing a discussion video of the anime A Certain Scientific Accelerator, which, as a fan of the A Certain Magical Index franchise, and Accelerator being my favorite character, I was like, fuck yeah! And here to help me is OneManCast. Introduce yourself.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, OneManCast here, saying that the Accelerator anime got snubbed.
I don't know why I got snubbed, it's fucking lit, but
Neither do I, because the fact that it's rated less than like a lot of, I think like a Dumbbells anime that got rated higher. Like, it's got a 7.15 score. There's so many anime in that specific season that's actually rated higher, and it bothers the crap out of me.
Yeah, so just a preface for those who don't know what this series is about. So this series takes place in the Tararu franchise, or A Certain Magical Index franchise, and it's basically a world with magicians, espers, and other things that go fucking bump in the night. There's vampires, even though we haven't seen a vampire in the light novels. They've only alluded to that they actually exist, and yada yada yada. Basically, it's a big wide world with magicians, conspiracies, magics, and you have a guy called the Toe Man who just says, "Out thou not living thou life correctly, get thou punched in thou face." And this particular series, this particular series is focusing on the adventures of local anti-hero Accelerator, who is a level 5 Esper in Academy City, and it's sort of, and this series sort of tackles a lot of the themes, or like a lot of the plot elements and themes that A Certain Magical Index does tackle, but to a lesser extent. I mean, you're going to find more, A Certain Scientific Railgun also tackle these themes, but with Accelerator it's more focused, and what this series is more focused on is the dark side of Academy City. You know, the seedy underbelly of this scientific city with espers and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that the main conflict of A Certain Magical Index is magic versus science. So, OneManCast, did you think there was anything I missed?
No, you didn't. I mean, not in a general sense, but there's also a lot of like thematics of, you know, Toma being the so-called Antichrist, Aleister Crowley kind of being, you know, an allusion to, Lucifer himself. Like, there's all sorts of small biblical bits too.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that like 3 of the main characters, like the main male lead, actually I should say 3 of the main male characters, because there's other main characters as well, but like all 3 of them, and Accelerator is included in that list. Each of them represent a different type of heroism. Like, of course, I don't think you've been far enough to be introduced to the third guy, but it doesn't matter. But now obviously there is a lot of themes with A Certain Magical Index, and we can go on and on and on and on about them. But for now, we're just going to be tackling this series today, which is A Certain Scientific Accelerator. So this series takes place after Accelerator got shot in the head by this series takes place after the events of Accelerator getting shot in the head, which ended up him being crippled. And it's basically just his adventures throughout Academy City as he fights the dark side. And it's a lot more context to his character when you add all the shit that's happening in this particular series, because in the Certain Magical Index series, he does show up, but most of the time it's usually when he's involved with the main plot, or, you know, etc and etc. But this one, it's mostly centered around characters that Accelerator knows, and this is generally stuff that Accelerator is doing when he isn't doing stuff in A Certain Magical Index. Anything else I missed, One Man?
Not really. I can think of his entire, again, you pretty much wrap it up in a general summary, but, there's themes, there's also the dynamics between each of the people he's with is kind of what helps build the immediate world around Accelerator, because he, despite his overpowered nature, is still kind of just a teenager. So it's kind of got a few things. But it does also introduce everybody's favorite waifu, Esther Rosenthal. we'll get into that.
Yeah. So this is an adaptation of the manga, and the first arc is called the Necromancer arc. And, Accelerator, he's just chilling like a motherfucker, reading some light novels, and then some fucking necromancer chick breaks into his hospital building and demands help, and he discovers that there are people who are stealing bodies or kidnapping and killing people to use as experiments was it to make an artificial god or to basically make someone immortal? I kind of forget, it's been a few days.
That is correct. It's just that they phrase it as a perfect golem for some reason, even though it's really, it's really antithetical to what being a necromancer actually is, but they call it the perfect golem. And here's the thing. Normally you would think that's an interesting idea for a plot, but by the end of it all, it never actually happens. It's almost like this idea of a perfect golem inevitably is meant to only be a concept rather than a physical manifestation. Because with the physical manifestation, the main villain of the series or whatever tries to make it happen, but gets stopped short by Esther, Accelerator, and crew.
I mean, he's the main villain for this arc, I should say, but I think it's actually very interesting because this ties into a lot of the themes. Like, one of the themes of a certain magical index or railgun to a certain extent is the concept of the 6th level Esper, which are basically fucking gods. All right. I mean, Accelerator is Accelerator is a level 5 Esper, and he is fucking powerful as shit. But a 6th level, they go beyond that. And I kind of feel like it's someone else trying to tap into that same thing. Like, it's someone trying to make the fucking perfect being. Like, it's possible. You can do it, except no one has ever done it before. But people know in their hearts that they want to try and do it. They want to do it.
I've always had a theory that Aleister Crowley is trying to make artificial angels to fight Aiwas. Just based on the fact that he's so focused on Accelerator and Kakene Teitoku that, there's two differing angelic thematics regarding those two, that it makes me wonder if the top 5 level 5s are just war potentials to be some form of angels to fight Aiwas in some sort of weird unholy war between angels and what would basically be fallen angels. And
yeah, so sort of like after Accelerator meets this necromancer chick, she begs him for fucking help, and then just goes all these adventures, and he fucking beats the fuck out of the dark side and shit, and just fucking fucks shit up. So how did you enjoy the story? Because I thought it was actually very interesting. Like, it talks about this necromancer chick realizing that, hey, maybe she shouldn't be fucking playing with the dead, and maybe she should fucking stop that shit, and maybe she should stop playing with things that she doesn't understand or can't control.
Well, to be fair, this show is basically everyone's fucked the anime, so I kind of didn't really buy into the idea of anybody being stronger than Accelerator, and it wasn't really, and the final boss didn't really come across as a level 6 being to me, because it's like, that's the one little issue I've had, because they try to build up this like weird like hentai level tentacle monster thing as a level 6 god, and I'm just like, not really. I mean,
it's more like potato chips for fucking Accelerator. He just fucking destroys it.
Like, all he has to do is just do that fucking like tornado shit that he did, where he just like made a tornado and then lit it on fire. Like, why didn't he just do that? Like, he could have just done that and he would have been dead.
I mean, Accelerator is pretty overpowered, and that does like decrease the tension. But I think one thing that's interesting about Accelerator is that he has a time limit at the moment, because you notice that he has a choker, and that choker is what allows him to do access to superpowers, and he can only do it at 30 minutes at a time. So there is sort of like a time limit, and Accelerator does have that weakness of that if he doesn't finish his opponents quickly, then he will be put in a very vulnerable state. Because
but here's the question I always have. This is like the one nuance I kind of have a problem with, because if it's 30 minutes, how do you go from episode to episode to quantify that 30 minutes aspect of it? Because you see him mostly using his ability through most of the episodes of the series, and you never see him recharge or turn off the battery.
Yeah, I think that's like a problem with it, like, because like the battery is always like fucking on. It's why he can walk and shit. But if it like gets like, because it has like this, it's like basically has a passive mode which he can have on all the time, but he has to like crank it up to activate his actual powers because of the fucking calculating and shit. But without that choker, he wouldn't be able to fucking walk. All right, he would be fucking paralyzed. I mean, that's how bad his head is. That's how badly he was damaged because he got shot in the head.
He would be more of a vegetable than an Aincrad online player.
Yep, pretty much.
Which, by the way, the reason why he's even at that state to begin with is because he didn't have enough resources to protect his own brain. Like, if he had, not only did he do something crazy as fuck and like use his vector ability to manipulate the bioelectricity with the when he's trying to save Last Order, but he didn't even just do that, but he also prevented, while he was unconscious, I don't remember the name of the scientist lady, but he's also protected her from getting shot in the heart. So he like did all of that.
Yeah, I think he was too focused on saving those two people that he didn't notice the fucking bullet to the head. Because despite how powerful he is, I mean, he has to focus it. Because I think the one weakness of like his fucking ability is that if it's something he hasn't encountered yet or he can't calculate for it, his reflection doesn't work.
Yeah, and I agree there. The way it's set up is kind of ambiguous though, because he at first he says he only has enough to protect Last Order, but then also realizes that what's her name gets shot in the head. But at the same time, it makes me wonder what exactly qualifies as the limits for his ability,
because, well, so far there doesn't seem to be much of a limit. Like, from what I've read of the light novels as well, like, it just seems to be like that time aspect, which does actually come into effect sometimes. That does actually come into play. And there are actually, like, people that try and target the choker, because without that choker, he can't fight, because Accelerator is actually quite weak as far as, like, physicality goes.
Or at least in the context of the spin-off, that no longer really becomes a problem later on down the line. But because he gets a completely different power set later on in the seasons of the Index anime, but in the context of this specific spin-off, that is entirely correct.
Yeah, I mean, his other power is like his other power that he gets later on. He doesn't need the fucking choker to do it. Like, it's a different thing entirely.
Actually, the choker actually gets in the way of it, is the truth of the matter. Actually, the choker gets in the way of those abilities. He cannot actually use those abilities while using scientific power, because of the fact that science and magic clash, and that you cannot use magic if you have the talents of science. And thanks to him having his science and abilities disabled, because he basically becomes a cripple, what happens then is that he can use magic abilities, because it's established in the lore of the original story that magic is for those who have no talent, and due to that, he can use magic when he loses the ability to cognitively think and move in that. So he technically, well, except later on down in the story, but technically the idea is that the choker actually gets in the way. His abilities mostly function outside of science.
Yeah, I actually like the idea of how, like, I think there's only like one character or two characters that can actually use both magic and science abilities, but even so, it fucking really hurts them. Like, I think it was it's the fucking blonde-haired guy with the glasses. I think it's Tsuchimikado. Yeah, Tsuchimikado. Yeah. Like, he's got an Esper power and he can use magic, but when he uses them, it just really fucks him up. And I like the idea of how you can't have both, because imagine how overpowered it would be if Accelerator became a fucking magician as well.
Well, here's the thing. Normally, it's been established in the continuity of the lore that you cannot use science if you start with science, basically. The only way you can theoretically use both magic and science is if you start with knowledge of the magic abilities and then, like Tsuchimikado did, learn the science after. But I don't remember if it's like some sort of particles that the AIM fields produce or whatever.
I think it's also because it rips apart your body at a subatomic level, because it's like too much fucking energy as well.
Well, that's not what I mean. I mean, the theory, they mentioned a theory that goes into it, that when they give you the education and training to get the abilities, there's like something in the AIM diffusion fields or something like that that messes with your ability to use magic.
I also think I think we should also remember that Espers in Academy City are usually experimented with drugs and stuff, and that also messes with like the magic circuits, quote unquote, or that also messes with your magic potential as well, because you're redirecting shit that wasn't supposed to be there, or the drugs are affecting you. Mm-hmm. And of course there are naturally born Espers called gemstones that develop their ability abilities naturally. And Accelerator, I think, is the first category.
I believe, isn't Toma a gemstone, or is that? Oh, wait, no. Is it? Yeah, that's the thing I've always wondered. Is Toma's arm magic, or is it science?
Well, in the latest volume, it turned into a fucking flying actual fucking dragon, so...
Oh yeah, I remember that. The 8 dragons and...
Oh no, this isn't 8 dragons. Let me go find a picture of it.
Because I've seen the one-headed dragon when he fought...
No, this is like an actual full fucking dragon.
Where? I need to see this.
Let me go find it. There's a fucking picture of it. But, yeah, it turns... like, basically what happens is he gets separated from his arm, it grows back, and it takes the form of a fucking dragon.
Damn, that's awesome.
There we go. Here's a picture of it. Post it. This is a picture from the light novel. Yeah, see the fucking, see the blue and golden thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's from his fucking arm.
Seriously?
Yes, that came from him.
What the hell? How the hell did he pull this off?
He has no fucking clue. It just happened. It's complicated. It's been a while since I've read the volume, but basically this fucking, his arm, oh yeah, I forgot to mention his arm also, while this dragon is out, his arm looks different as well. You know the hand and arm that he has the Imagine Breaker on? Because he gets separated from Imagine Breaker, I should mention that, like, he loses the power of Imagine Breaker while this fucking dragon is out, and his arm turns into something very weird as well. Let me go find a picture.
Well, it was the same for the invisible thing too, as it's dubbed. It's like, it's dubbed as the invisible thing, like back when the thing where when he's fighting Fiamma.
Yeah.
And like I think that's actually the more terrifying thing than the dragons he has.
Yeah, if now in his it's very hard to describe, but if you notice that his arm is different, like if you look at the pictures,
it looks a lot more like bulbous and muscly.
It also took like an energy form as well, I think, if I remember correctly. If I'm trying to find a picture of it, but there's like a picture of it. Oh wait, there's a server I probably have that I have all these shit. So just like that's fucking. I would feel that's actually pretty, like, we actually still don't fucking know. I mean, a dragon came out of his fucking arm, and we're like, holy fuck.
Like, what the hell is the story behind that? Was that the work of that alchemist? Because is he the one who kind of made that take form?
No, this thing just, this thing in the latest volume just happened. Like, the fucking dragon just is flying around and shit.
What the hell did Alistair do to you? What did Alistair do to you, Tom? Like, what the hell? How does this even function? I
have no idea. Here's some fan art, though. Look at this. Like, here's more fan art. Like, I'm trying to find a picture of one of his fucking arms because there's a dude who did a really good description of it.
What the hell?
Yeah, here's some concept art. I think this is official concept art. This one is.
So the author has not elaborated on what the story is behind these.
No, but it exists.
Interesting.
He obviously he absorbs it back into himself at the end, but and by the way, this dragon remembers this dragon basically also takes a form of him as well. So it's almost like he's fighting himself. It's such a crazy fucking volume that one was.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, to me, like, I was so, like, when I heard that they were covering the World War III arc, I was so goddamn hyped because I had literally ended my reading of the arc after the invisible thing was revealed against Fiamma, and man, oh man, was it great to see it be finally animated. But
yeah, I think what makes it really fucking terrifying is that no one knows what the fuck it actually is.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense considering what it's commentary on and the fear of the unknown.
Yeah, but enough about Toma's magical right hand. So we should continue back on the fucking story because this thing is going all over the place. So what did you actually think of, like, the story overall? Like, aside from, like, all the random bad guys and all the shit that was happening, like, what did you think about it overall? Was it entertaining? Do you think it was good? Do you think it plays into the themes of the series? You know, does it fit well with what the series has established so far?
Well, it's always... Accelerator himself has always posed kind of a moral quandary of sorts, i.e. what actually defines hero, anti-hero, villain, and anti-villain. Because to me, he comes less across as a anti-hero and more of a misunderstood paragon kind of trope, because in the end he's basically the world's biggest male tsundere. I don't know how else to best put it. You know, we've got best waifu in Esther, and we've got, and like, even the cutesy silly scenes were just fun. But I think the scene that will always be stuck in my mind is Accelerator Accelerator versus the Scavengers.
Oh,
that
want to talk about that? Want to talk about it? Because that was a very good fight.
Oh, well, the best way to talk about it is not call it a fight. It's best to call it a squash match. See, here, us here, the pro wrestling community that I'm a part of, that, pro wrestling calls that, let's call a squash match. And they call the Scavengers either jobbers or mid-card talent. And let's just say when Big Hoss Accelerator comes in, he makes a complete joke out of him. He was so annoyed by them that he basically uses somebody's bioelectricity to, shock them. And he's like, he's trying to expect them to enjoy it. And to me, I don't think the Scavengers quite understood what they were getting into.
Yeah, he's cracking a cold one off the girls.
Pretty much.
I mean, the story is typical Magical Index stuff. They fight. Oh yeah, they also talk about how they also talk a bit more about the politics of the series. Like, for example, Anti-Skill is being infiltrated by these fucking die-hard Templar lawful evil assholes.
Best way to describe them ever. Honestly, that was a perfect way to describe exactly what they are.
They're so fucking zealous. Like, holy shit. Like, we are justice. Remember when they went to that fucking morgue? And that's another favorite scene of mine. And where, like, Accelerator goes past them and stuff, and they're like, oh, fuck off, Accelerator. And they don't know who he is. And they're gonna melt the fucking body to get rid of the evidence. And Accelerator turns to the Necromancer chick and says, like, well, and I love the fucking dub for this, and we'll talk about the dub later. He just shows the Necromancer chick this bottle, and he says, they're about to have a lot more problems. And they actually notice that the bottle is gone, and Accelerator turns around and just goes fucking ham. Yeah, that's right, I remember. Because the Necromancer chick was trying to fucking revive that dead body, and it was about to wake up. Remember the scene in the morgue?
Yeah, I was there. I remember every bit of it, including when he tried to kill the DA dude, but then his wound opened back up. So yeah, I remember that scene entirely.
Oh yeah, do you want to talk about the thing about the sort of like the main bad guy of the arc, about like the guy how he just wanted to like fucking revive his sister, and his sister was sick and stuff, and stole the talisman and yada 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 yada. I'll talk a bit about that.
Yeah, Tao Wu. There's a long story behind that.
I think it'd be better if you go into it, because I'm probably just going to generalize. So
basically, the villain's character arc in this story is a brother and sister associated with, a male, a brother and sister who basically are trying to make, I can't remember the sister's name, basically become level 6 because they've been obsessed for whatever reason of being level 6, and their idea was to use Esther's necromancy to make it possible. Unfortunately, there's this other thing that Esther didn't realize about manipulating spirits. See, she manipulated a spirit to be planted inside the sister, but the sad thing is, let's just say Tao was also possessed, and that was by the spirit of Esther Rosenthal's ancestor Isaac. Now, the reason why this is important is because she used this ability after the sister committed suicide. So basically, the entire arc is actually centered around this, and basically they're trying to use the memories of the killed 10,030 some odd or something like that sisters that are killed by Accelerator, because the entire idea is a bullshit power scaling of how many necromancers victim count of KDR factors into their power level. So it's entirely framed around this, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually impressed with the entire the amount of grifting skill necessary to survive that long while being imprisoned within a spirit talisman.
Shouldn't you talk about how the sister was actually like sick and dying, and she killed herself so her brother could revive her from the dead as well?
Yeah,
as a level 6 Esper, which was pretty fucked, by the way. I mean, a Sir Magical Index does some pretty fucked things, but that was like, oh fuck me.
The reason why it's so fucked though is because there's a lot of social implications behind the concept of suicide. Because suicide rates continue to grow, and so I'm actually impressed that JC staff decided to animate that scene, considering the fact that there's this major social issue going around.
Well, they didn't show show her killing herself, but they showed her like in a tank of preservatives and her recording, and she's just like, if you're watching this, I am dead. And then the brother finds out her fucking test results, and he's just like, why did I not fucking know? Why didn't I not fucking think about this? Why didn't I see this? And he's kicking himself, he's blaming himself, and he blames himself for his sister's death.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, that's why this is such a dark, impactful issue, and it reverberates among the entire it reverberates amongst the entire community, because some of these episodes and some of these scenes can get a little uncomfortably real. And the writer of this series understands basically, the 2-hour franchise specifically understands the audience they're aiming for. With Toara Majutsu no Index, it was the light novel fans, it was the people who kind of like, or kind of chuny and kind of like the magic versus science thematic. Certain scientific railgun was kind of more of the moe blob slice of life, and Accelerator's kind of the hardcore dark side of it all.
Death metal playing in the background.
Oh god, yeah.
Before we go into that, I think one thing that really I think this is one of the things that ties into like the whole franchise as a whole. Like, this guy, he is just because if you look at like quite a few of the villains of a certain magical index, like they're all people that have lost their way. They're not living their life correctly, and this guy is just another person who lost his way, because he isn't an evil person. He's just a person who's been driven to insanity and just desperate because he blames himself. He feels guilt for his sister because his sister was dying and he didn't fucking know. He was like, I'm her guardian, I should have known. And then she goes on, kills herself for his dream. And I almost feel like he was being backed into a corner of that he has to fucking do this because he's lost so much. Like, would you agree?
Yeah, there's a famous song called Despite All My Rage, I Am Still Just a Rat in a Cage. And I think that's the best way to describe him. It's that very lyric of the song.
He's not an evil fucking person. I just feel like he was more like a moral, he was okay, he wasn't exactly a good person, but he's not someone I would call evil. Like,
he's a moral gray zone, basically.
Yeah, I mean, he did some fucked up things, but honestly, before his sister died, I actually feel like his sister dying and the implication of that is kind of what pushed him over the edge. He stopped living his life correctly and he gone off the wrong path. And I mean, a lot of the villains in a certain magical index are like that. Like, there's very few villains that are actually truly evil. Like, a lot of them have just lost their way, or they're not living their life correctly, and so Toma has to punch them back on the right path.
I know, right? That's like the best part of Toma. It's like, he'll punch anybody. He will literally punch anybody, and all of a sudden they'll start changing to go on the right path. And you're right about that.
Hey, listen, Toma is an advocate of true gender equality.
God damn it.
He punches whether they're young or old, blind, crippled, or crazy. You're not living their life correctly.
Right. I remember Vento and how he punched her after basically debunking her logic of, oh, my little brother was killed by Academy City, so Academy City is the problem. Because Academy City, somehow, some way was not proof enough to protect the kids in that, vehicle accident. Not the vehicle accident, but like they were basically on a carnival ride, and that's how her brother died, because her brother died because he told them to save his sister. So basically, Toma punched her and basically got her entire, pathology kind of fixed up around it, basically. So basically, Toma is, if you take a Paragon character and give him an anti-hero right fist, if that makes any sense.
I think we sort of talked about the story, so do you want to move on to the characters now?
Yeah, there's quite a few characters in this series that I actually don't really quite like.
You can go ahead first, and we'll talk more about Accelerator, because basically he's the main star and he's what everyone. Yeah. So go ahead. I'm not going to judge you. Just go full steam ahead.
Okay. The characters I do like are Esther, Accelerator. I even like the Scavengers. I've always liked Yomikawa and whatnot, and those group of people as a dynamic. So the characters I don't want to talk about, that I don't like, are the main dude who is the one manipulating the DA and the people, and all of the people in the background. The guy who runs the train that never stopped. That's the dude I don't like. Another person I don't like is the main villain. I kind of found him uninspired and uncreative.
I remember the scene where like he's being raided by all these Chinese people and everyone's like fucking zombies, and he says like, oh, the nobleman and the daughter, they wanted to see my work firsthand. I turned them into the undead. Look how evil I am. Oh, ha 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 ha.
I mean, I get what he was going for, because I'm pretty sure like every old male dude, wishes they were secretly some teenage female. But if you want to be that way, you're doing it the wrong way. Because if you want to be like the world's best necromancer while pretending to be a teenage girl, go right ahead. But no, don't do it that way. Jeez, that's creepy. Let's see. What about the other characters I don't like? I don't like the character that Esther revives. I don't know why they found her character personality to be the personality of which to put a deadpan style. Whatever they were going for with the deadpan didn't work in my opinion, for that. And I didn't like the first couple of the first group of villains. Like with the chick with like that weird ice sword or whatever.
Yeah, that was actually the chick that actually died and they brought back with the deadpan.
Mm-hmm. And
honestly, I don't think she was like that part wasn't in the original manga, I do believe. But I think they added it in for more context, and I think they added it in to make you care more about her character, because she's also another person that lost her way. But instead of having to lick her wounds and rethink about things, she got killed on the way to the hospital.
Yeah, the radical chick or whatever.
Like, even though she was a fucking villain and shit like that, I mean, that is so fucking fucked, man. Like, she was still, like, if they, like, the fuck, because we should explain what happens. So basically, the hospital that she, like, the ambulance that she gets taken to, so, because obviously she gets taken to another hospital because she just, she's injured, but they're not going to put her in the one that she just attacked, because Accelerator's there and Accelerator's going to beat the fuck out of her.
The same person, because that person is actually the chick. Like, are we talking about the villain, the first villain, the girl who uses radical way too much? Because I'm pretty sure the other girl was the one who tried to jump off the bridge trying to commit suicide.
No, it's the same chick.
Is it? Okay. So yeah, circling back to all of that.
So basically what happens is she gets the shit kicked out of her, and her friends are kind of like, what the fuck, man? She tries to kill herself. She doesn't succeed, and then as they're taking her to a hospital, the people's like, oh well, she's still alive, sadly. Oh well. And then just basically like, because she's hooked up to oxygen, and they just like fucking tighten it because they've got like the mask, because they've got like they've got one of those like oxygen masks on her, and she can't take it off, and they've got her like chained, and they just cut off her oxygen, and she's like oh, she's alive. Not anymore.
No, that's not what they did. Quite correct. That's not quite correct. What they did is that they were afraid that if they did try to do something like that, they would get caught. So in order to not get caught, they took the same water that she tried to jump into, and they killed her with that same exact water, so they could just write it off as her dying from drowning.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that. And guess what? You see that from her point of view, by the way. I mean, what a horrible way to die.
That was some great cinematography there, because that was good perspective choice, because it gives you that suffocating feeling of, oh shit, I'm in a very claustrophobic situation and I'm drowning from a tank with water on it.
And she can't take the mask off anyway, so she has to accept this as her death.
It's that level of jaded nihilism that really gets into your head a bit, and that's the entire emotional impact.
Yeah, I would say that, like, when I was watching this, I was just like, fuck, damn. Like, I know dying sucks, but I mean, of all the ways to fucking die, I mean, that is terrifying.
Yeah, it is a very freaky concept.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I like it so much. It's like everything from, like, to encapsulate the entire spin-off series in one word. The word of the day is fatalism. Everything from the story to the music, even the music sold the idea of fatalism. Like, if you paid attention to the rock music during the fight with the what is it?
The giant robots?
No. The fight. There we go. Well, that's one of them. But the fight with the scavengers, like, it sold the hopelessness of the Darwinistic hopelessness that the scavengers experience against Accelerator, because you could, like, the timing of the music when, like, they're all like, coughing, bubbling out saliva,
and also the fact that their leader realizes who Accelerator is. Like, they're talking cocky to him before, and they're like, oh fuck, it's Accelerator. Oh fuck, he's level 5. Oh fuck, we've pissed him off. Oh fuck, nothing we're doing is working. Oh shit, he just took out all my fucking friends in one shot. And
it's good storytelling too, because their leader is a tactical person, and as a tactician myself, we tend to overthink way too much. And so in a situation like with Accelerator, you're trying to rack your brain with so many thought processes, tactics, and ideas, and trying to find some way to get themselves out of the scenario that it paralyzes them with fear and inaction. And so, like, the leader of their group shuts down all basic functions and can't do a damn thing while all of her unit gets their fucking asses kicked.
Yeah, I think she just goes unconscious. Like, she just, like, faints. She's just like, we can't fucking win. We can't fucking win. We gotta get out of here. And her friend's like, fucking step out of it. Fucking commander, lead. We need to get the fuck out of it. Give us the order.
Yeah, well, it didn't help that, you know, the first person he took out, he electrocuted.
Oh, that was an awesome scene. He's just like, let's have some fun with bioelectricity. He's like, oh, I remember the scene. I remember the quote. He was like, okay, class, let's have some fun with bioelectricity.
Like, everything about that scene was so brutal, so goddamn metal.
Should we talk about Accelerator now before we move on to like the art and soundtrack and yada yada and overall?
Yeah, definitely.
So when you now Accelerator is a very interesting character for a multitude of reasons. Not only is he a bit more morally grand stuff, but even before he got attacked by Toma and stuff and started becoming like an anti-hero. I lost track of what I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna say like Accelerator is a very interesting character because to me at least that his entire character arc is him trying to become human. Or would you agree? Like yeah. Like his.
I would frame it a different way. It's more like because even in the early days, even before Toma had
it's gonna be hard for me to describe it because I think it'd just be better if you do it. But like for me, like Accelerator, I think one of the core concepts of his character is that he is a demon, that he's a monster that's trying to become a human.
I would frame it slightly different, and here's why. There was when you pay attention to what he said, because he was asked why he participated in the experiment, and his idea is that he wanted to be so strong that people would find the idea of fighting him to be impossible, that the idea of fighting him would be so unrealistic that they would not fight him at all. It's actually more of a pacifist coming to terms with, you know, he himself lost his way, as people had put it earlier. And I think he did the same, because back when he said, I wanted the idea of fighting me to be inconceivable, you start to consider maybe this entire time he's trying to keep himself from fighting because he doesn't want to fight, if that makes sense.
I disagree with you for a little bit, because if you look at his backstory, I mean, Accelerator has always been alone, all right? When he because he was abandoned as a kid, as an orphan. Right. And then when he woke up to his powers, he was even more alone because of how fucking powerful he was. Because Accelerator, at even a young age, he was frighteningly powerful. I think he was at like level 4, nearly level 5 when he first woke up to his powers, and that made him more isolated.
Yeah, that makes sense, but that actually kind of feeds into the point I was making.
Well, let me finish, and then sorry about that. You know, and because people did try and attack him, like, you know, if you see the scene in the anime, you know, he was getting attacked by kids, by armed people and like people in suits and black suits and tanks and yada yada. And I almost feel like, and then he gets picked up by these scientist people, and they, you know, they introduce him to the clones and stuff, and they're like, oh well, they're not human, so just keep going and going. And that's one of the reasons why he tries to have the clones to show fear, because if they show fear and hesitation, he can turn around to the scientist people and say like, look, they're showing fear, you know, and yada 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 yada. Because like, while I do slightly agree with your point, I disagree, because I think there's more to it. I think it's pacifism coming from the fact that I think it's because he finds it hard to relate to people because of his isolation and what he's been through. And so he basically does all these evil things so people will stay away from him, and that's why he wants to become the strongest, so people will leave him alone.
Yeah, I didn't phrase it right when I used the phrase pacifist, I guess, because the way I was thinking of it
he's not a pacifist by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm saying I used the wrong phrase to describe it. It's like,
that's okay, mistakes were made, but like how I've always viewed it is that he's always viewed himself as a monster. because he kind of is.
I mean, the cool thing about that is that it juggles this idea of humanity and what makes a human being as well.
Yeah, and ironically, like, despite being a monster or being treated like a monster, he is the most human, because because the reason why he pushes people away is because of his childhood trauma and all that shit he went through as a kid. But
Exactly.
you know, when he gets punched in the face, ironically, Toma's the only person who can touch him, and then he meets Last Order, and then he gets his Guardians, and he gets people that treat him like a human being. He has a family, you know, he has these things, because he's never had these things before, and he's becoming more human. Now, of course, this is later on in the series, but Accelerator is still a fucking monster and a half, alright? Like, he has murdered thousands of people, not including the clones, by the way.
Yeah, I wasn't really including the.
I know, but, like, I mean, if you, like, there's a massive difference. Like, obviously, it's, like, do you feel like his psychotic episodes is all an act, or is that, like, a part of sort of, like, that monstrous nature of him that he tries to keep down?
I'd say it's a part of him that he just tunes up to 11, because I'm pretty sure he'd rather just be chilling out, drinking coffee and reading books, but will do what he has to. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, as the series continues, he gets a bit more merciful with general opponents, but, like, you know, he'll still fuck with them and put on this front of I'm the fucking evil Dark Lord and shit like that.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, you could just tell by the fight with the scavengers that he does take a little bit of sadistic pleasure in that.
He does. So what do you like? Aside from us, like, making theories about his character and stuff, what do you think about Accelerator's character as a whole? Like, do you think watching this has sort of helped you learn more or get more into his mindset of what he's like outside of, like, the Sir Magical Index franchise?
Yeah, his character, honestly, is a good reflection of an entire generation of people. Jaded, bitter, a little bit disillusioned with the how the current world functions, if that makes any sense. He's always been a good reflection of a certain mindset of group of individuals, and that, you know, there's that fatalistic exhaustion, that, you know, that those feelings of isolation, those feelings of lack of belonging. You know, he's always encapsulated that specific ideology, and I've always found his character to be a good contrast, because it's similar but not quite the same. It's basically what you would take with that mindset and spun another way. So what you would do is you would take that same exhausted mindset and give it a little bit of initiative, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's a coming of age ceremony, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. It's like I'm actually wondering what Accelerator would be like as an adult, because technically he's actually a NEET. Like, he doesn't go to school or anything like that and shit.
Yeah, he technically is, but he's also not an adult, which is usually what describe adults for in that case. Yeah, because the term NEET means not educated or
I know, but he kind of lives like a NEET. I mean, you know, he doesn't really go to school, and he's mostly at hospital and shit, or fighting people.
Yeah, he's more of a person who's sort of institutionalized, if that makes any sense. Which the term NEET doesn't apply to the institutionalized type. It's more of the functioning adults that don't do anything, basically.
Actually, ironically, funny thing is the Accelerator doesn't really participate much in the society he is in, which I think encapsulates that isolationism. Like, like, everything around him is just fucking background noise to him. I mean, literally.
Yeah, like, he can literally tune out noise with his vector abilities if he really wanted to. Like, that's how he first met Last Order. He just started hearing somebody making noise. He blocks it out with the vectors, and then he found out who Last Order is while wrapped in, like, this weird, was it a blanket or a tarp or something that she was wearing when she first met Accelerator? Yeah. And he basically takes off, like, when he hears her, he takes off that thing completely.
No, he actually sees her first because he actually feels someone tugging on his clothing.
Right. But when, like, the best part of that scene was just him exposing a lolly out in public, and nobody, like, I'm surprised nobody else was out in public to call the police. Because...
Oh my god. Oh, that was so fucking Chad. Like, he was just like, wait, I want to get a good look at you.
Yeah, I know. He is the skinniest Chad you'll ever find, but damn, he gave no fuck.
Yeah.
He's always been a phenomenal.
Yeah, he's always been a great character. What do you think about his relationship with Last Order as well?
I see it as a brother-sister dynamic. I really find it interesting because, to me, it's like the way I see it is he's sort of like kind of a similar person if he was turned into an optimist, because they're both childish, they're both immature, they both have a somewhat black and white mentality, but they care about each other on a very deep level. I wouldn't say deep as in like, you know, romantic partner level, but definitely some sort of pseudo sibling relationship.
I've also viewed it as that like Accelerator views Last Order as like his daughter as well. Like it's very much like a parental sort of like relationship.
You know, I would almost agree with you on that, but the ability, like in season 3, Last Order also possessed the ability to stop him, like stop his rampaging about. So that, in my mind, kind of sends that out a little bit, because, you know, if it was a father-daughter thing, there's really not much a daughter could do to stop a parental figure, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So that's my perspective on it.
All right. Yeah, but Accelerator is a very interesting character from beginning to end. He's still fucking interesting because apparently at the do you want slight spoilers? One man.
I don't mind spoilers. They don't ruin my experience.
So currently, as far as the light novels are concerned, he is currently the chairman of Academy City.
Who is? Which one?
Accelerator. He is the current chairman of the board of Academy City.
How the hell did he pull that off?
I don't want to spoil it, but the scene where he takes office in charge is fucking amazing. He just walks in the chairman's office, sits down in his chair, because basically he literally has the keys of the city. Like he has them in his hands, and he just shows them and dangling the keys, like not that metaphorically he has the keys of the city, and he just shows the rest of the board of directors, and he says, "Guess what, fuckers? I'm in charge. So let's all be nice together, shall we?"
That's actually pretty cool.
Let me show you the scene of the light novel. Let me go find it. It's fucking amazing. Oh yeah, I should also mention as well, at this point of the series, he also has a pet demon with him as well. He has a demon that he tamed.
That's pretty damn impressive.
And how did he tame it? Work for me or die, bitch.
I'm surprised he hasn't fought, I'm surprised Accelerator hasn't tried to fight Alistair yet. That's the thing I've always wondered, is like...
here's a picture. This is like a snippet from it, so that's him in the fucking big chair.
Wait, what's the first picture? Is that Last Order?
That's just fan art.
Oh, okay.
But go look at the bottom. That's from the light novel. He's now in the he's in the big boy's chair.
Oh my god, that's awesome. Accelerator has always been awesome, but I didn't even realize it was that good. Also, I liked the fact that Accelerator finally, ascended to proper angelhood, but then it's like, but what kind of weirded me out about it was that season 3 with the Accelerator character is that the music playing in the background really reminded me of the show Touched by an Angel. And I'm just like, God, that's so hammy. But with Accelerator, that to me seems rather fascinating. I did not expect that of Accelerator.
Well, Accelerator to become an angel.
Well, I mean, the angel part was I had already seen the light novel, but no, the fact that Accelerator takes over the school or is like the chairman of the board. That's the one I was really surprised.
Yeah,
about.
Basically the city is now his. Like, Aleister Crowley, how he was the chairman of the board of Academy City. Well, that's Accelerator's job now.
That's actually impressive.
He doesn't need to be politically connected, because guess what? If you have a problem with his leadership, guess what? Trial by combat.
That works by me, man. Works for me. Trial by combat. That's how it should be.
Yeah, Accelerator is a great character. Now, I think let's talk about the music. Shadow is the light. I fucking love that opening, by the way.
Me too. That was a great opening, but that wasn't actually the song that stood out to me.
Do you think that actually, before you continue, do you think Shadow is the Light actually fits like the content?
I feel like it focuses more on one specific aspect of the Accelerator rather than his entire character, and that Shadow is the Light kind of reflects on his anti-hero nature rather than who Accelerator is. Because Shadow is the Light is basically the concept of someone who thinks they are a villain is actually doing good things. And it begs the question, is he truly a villain? Is he an anti-hero? Or is he a hero in the guise of Shadow? So that's what I really love about that song, is like it has the rock metal sound to it, and it encapsulates the moral quandary of separation between good, neutral, and evil. And so that's what I really, really love about song. The song that really stands out to me, though, is that one OST song. Like, whenever Accelerator does a cool fight, that one specific song plays, and the way it's just made stands out a lot more. Because it's people, I generally, as a rule, I like background music more than an OP, but I do really love the OP. But there's a specific, like, the same music that plays when he fights the robots is the same where he fights the scavengers. That the song that's going on in that background, that to me is the song of the anime. That's my personal song of the anime itself. So in my opinion, I actually like that one background song a little bit better. But Shadow is the Light is great. You know what else is a great song from that series, though? The ending theme. I believe it's called Parabole or something like that. Is that the one?
Yeah, sorry, I just had to go use the bathroom quickly. So we just talking about the OST for a second.
Yeah, the OST song that really stands out to me a little bit more than the OST is the one between Accelerator and the Scavengers and Accelerator versus the robots. It's the same song, and it's really impressive. It's a masterpiece within a show that's a masterpiece.
Yeah. I didn't. There wasn't many things that sort of stuck out to me OST wise. Like, I just really liked Shadow is the Light. Like, that was just such a cool song. Like, now the opening, like the fucking animation that goes with the opening, I felt like they could do a little better with it. But
well, they do change it up a little bit with every couple of episodes.
Oh shit!
They don't. Yeah, they do. From like, pay attention to like episode 1, and then about, each time a little mini arc starts within the show, they alter the imagery a little bit, and if you pay attention, you actually kind of pick up on that.
Oh, okay.
At first it was like I believe the DA, and then it was the Scavengers, and then it was the main villain, then it was basically Isaac and Hirumi. That's her name, Hirumi's body. And so they actually change it up a little bit, and if you pay attention, they do change it up a bit.
Okay, I didn't notice. I thought the ending song was alright as well, but I just really like Shadow is the Light. Now, the sub and dub, I'm going to say that the sub and dub voice actors for Accelerator are amazing for different reasons. Would you agree?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I still prefer the original sub just because of like the absolute amount of pure insanity, and whomever voiced him, in my opinion, is phenomenal. I will give credit to the dub, though. The dub dude does a good job he's learned a lot from his failures in the original Index anime. Like,
yeah, he's the dude who does the sub for Accelerator, by the way.
Yeah. Like, the dub for Accelerator 2, he learned from his mistakes in season 1 of Index. He's come a long way. I've paid attention to his work, and honestly, it's improved a lot over time. So I'm going to give his voice actor credit where credit is due. He spent a lot of time improving his craft.
Yeah, I feel like he's a lot like, I feel like Accelerator, the dub for this is just like, as far as like Accelerator goes, it's like fucking on point. Like, this is what I feel that Accelerator would sound like in English. He's this very bitter, tired, and also some of the badass shit he says in English is just fucking amazing, by the way. And I actually really like the sub voice actor as well, because he just covers that, he does a really good job at covering that fucking psychotic nature of Accelerator.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes like, where's the fucking clip? We'll go find a clip for it. But when Accelerator does his like speeches and goes ham, like, he just has that fucking psycho voice, and it's just amazing.
Oh yeah, Nobuhiko Okamoto. He's got to be one of my favorite actors. I think the only Japanese male VA that passes him is Sho Hayami. I think it goes for me, Sho Hayami, Nobuhiko Okamoto, and Daisuke Ono. There we go. Oh, hey, Amelia Hilson. Yeah, this is like my favorite. Oh man. Oh, man. Like, just what I'm in my opinion, Accelerator really just hammers down. Like, the Accelerator anime is, in my opinion, has done the best pacing you can do for an anime. Like it never let up. It constantly escalated and upped its game each step along the way. And I was legitimately impressed how well the pacing was.
Yeah.
And
I think the last thing we should just cover is like the animation quickly. I think the animation for this particular series was actually pretty good, but I feel like the color palette was a bit off, and I think things look a bit too shiny.
With which scenes, may I ask?
Some of the fight scenes and some like the general like background scenes, like some of them are a bit too shiny and a bit too bright.
So you're saying there's a little. Is it a little too? Yeah, it's a little too low on the contrast.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a fair argument. I can definitely save that.
Yeah, like if you look at this other scene, like from Certain Magical Index volume, like season 2. Like even though it's not, I think the animation in Accelerator is better, but I feel like the color palette is a little bit off.
Well, it depends on the setting of the scene too. Like this. Like when he destroys a walkie, it was established that it was, early nighttime. The colors were dimmer, but it feels like a lot of these scenes were like at the start of it all. A lot of these scenes were a little too much during the daytime or too much in a lighted room. I feel like it needed a little bit more than just one scene or a style.
Yeah.
But then you had the opposite end of evil when you get to the final fight, because with the way they distorted the coloring, it actually made it worse because it didn't really set any tension. It kind of just started sucking the life out of the show itself. Like if you pay attention to like the way they had to distort the environment around it to accentuate the construct that was supposed to be this perfect golem.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was sucking the fucking color out of the thing. I remember that. That was really weird.
Like I feel like it could have been done a better way. It could have been done in a much more pleasing fashion, I guess. It really kind of stuck out to me. It did a good job in like catching my attention to the foreground, but the background was so unappealing that the foregrounds kind of clashed. The foreground clashed with the background a lot. That would be how I would describe this show's biggest flaw.
Yeah, but other than that, like it looks nice. It flows good. The fight scenes are pretty good. I would argue that what's that fucking? The character designs are a little bit more Moe-ish. Like if you look at like Last Order and the sisters, like they're a bit more Moe-ish. If you notice. Yeah,
well, of course I do. I love Moe blobs. But yeah, I do agree that, and you can tell there's a lot more Moe blobs in the animation. Like, you know how Esther tries to get Accelerator to be her master or whatever, and she's blowing up this cute little red ball to present to him, but then drops it. You could tell by the sound effects and like Esther somehow unable to actually grab the red ball. You could tell that even like some of the style and sound effects and animation were kind of Moe blobish too. But I think it was a good call, and here's why. It's supposed to be this tonal clash. Like daily living in Academy City, to a point, is kind of Moe blobish. So it kind of, and besides, it's all from the perspective of Accelerator anyway. And so it kind of makes sense that he perceives it as a Moe blob thing, because that encapsulates Last Order, his main motivation for moving forward. So it actually kind of, in a cinematography way, makes sense.
Okay, cool. So we'll just do okay, so as far as enjoyment and overall goes, I fucking enjoyed this series from beginning to end. It's just fucking amazing. Like basically take all those like Accelerator Pones videos on YouTube, like the clips, and just turn it into a 12 episode anime. And
there's a reason why I call it Everyone's Fuck the Anime.
Yeah. And if you want to get more insight of Accelerator as a character, this is definitely a good place to start. I do believe they're making like a second season, or they're going to be making a second one capturing the next arc, because I think in the manga they're up to their second or third arc.
They set up for a sequel at the end of it all. Like you see this, I believe you see this girl, that falls out of a coffin or something like that at the end of the episode.
Yeah, and conveniently lands where Accelerator is, which is okay, but convenient.
Well, it's done to set up the second season, so.
Yeah.
It's unofficial announcement basically.
Well, I think they're going to, because they're doing like Railgun season 3, and that's where we see more of the level 6 concept, because Misaka almost goes level 6 but doesn't, like an incomplete.
Because to me, honestly, out of the 3 protagonists, I think Mikoto is probably the weakest of protagonists. There's a lot more to Toma.
I don't like you, Toma Baka.
I mean, I love my tsunderes, don't get me wrong, but as a main character status, to me it goes Accelerator at the top, Toma a little bit below him, and then in this deep valley, there's Mikoto. With Mikoto, I like her character, don't get me wrong. But at least with Toma, there's a lot of mystery and intrigue. And then with Accelerator, well, it's Accelerator. So there's that proactivity that a main protagonist...
I mean, you can't go wrong with fucking Accelerator. I mean, the guy is just awesome. It's like he's like an edgier Dante. Well, he's not as cool as Dante, but he scratch that. He's another type of cool. There's a type of cool to, like, there's different types of cool, and Accelerator, I wouldn't say, is he psychotic cool, or is he like kind of crazy cool?
That's a tricky one, because there are times where
I was about to say Dante from Devil May Cry, but no, Dante's like surfer cool.
He's surfer cool, kind of like jokey cool. He's like the cool uncle kind of cool.
Yeah, he's that type of cool.
Accelerator is...
Because Accelerator isn't punk. Like, he isn't punk like, say, Nero. Using the Devil May Cry example. Like, Accelerator is a bit more edgier than Nero.
He's
and
like
a lot more psychotic.
He's an edgier version of V. Like, he has that really cool, calm, collected side. But then... Oh, wait, no. He's kind of the... Like, when he's not fighting, he's the lazy cool attribute. But when he's in a fight, he's the psychotic cool attribute, because he's kind of like the...
Yeah, I don't think the V comparison would work, because V is more like goth cool or emo cool, I guess.
That makes sense. So, yeah, that makes plenty of sense, but...
No, actually, no, he'd be more goth, actually. No, wait, no, emo. Fuck. Is he goth or emo?
I mean, one's kind of a spin-off of the other, so regardless of what you claim, it's kind of the same.
I guess.
Not quite.
But, you know, like, Accelerator is just a cool character, and if you like those kind of, like, psychotic, kind of just badass characters, then you gotta love the Accelerator anime. It's great.
It is. I am so mad that it got the score it did on Mal. Like, how can you rate the dumbbell anime higher than it? How? How could you do that?
Because it has thick, tanned anime girls that want you to get fit.
I mean, I like exercising too, but, like, come on, man. Come on. Like, even the dungeon anime got higher score. Like, the Dungeon ni dai motomeru no wa machigateru darokatu, or is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon too?
Ironically, the novels for that are actually a lot better, and also the title is very misleading.
Well, most of it's actually adventure.
I know. Also, if you look at the main girl of fucking like Dumbbells, I mean, she's kind of cute. Like, she's thick. She's tan. I mean, it's like, what more do you want?
True. I want a thick tan chick. I mean, that's not so much ripping on the dumbbell, anime. I think the dumbbell anime is great, but I feel like Accelerator in general should have been rated higher rather than the dumbbell anime rated lower. If that makes sense. I think Dumbbell earns its rating. I just find it weird that people rated Accelerator so.
I think it's because sex sells at the end of the day.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, what about the mom anime? Why is that 5.79 if sex sells?
I have no idea. Maybe not everyone was into SS that week.
I guess not.
All right.
I thought a lot of people would be into the MILF scene, so it's like, what the fuck?
I have the light novels. I'm up to volume 3 at the moment. I've got to go around to reading it. But yeah, I just really enjoyed this series. It has fucking everything I ever wanted and asked for an Accelerator show.
Yeah, definitely.
I would feel that if I was a little younger, like if this came out like say a few years earlier, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But
I think I enjoyed it immensely.
I know I did, but I felt like if this happened like a couple of years earlier, I probably would have enjoyed it even more so. But anyway, so overall thoughts on Accelerator, the anime?
I would have rated it like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. The only thing that really kind of killed it for me was the final boss of the entire series. I felt like he was not really like think of the final boss as you facing off against Virgil in DMC3.
But you fight him like 3 times.
My point being is this: he'll say, "You're not worthy as my." To me, that's Accelerator's thoughts about the final boss. You know, Accelerator, in my opinion, would think that the main final boss is not worthy to be and I think that's my mentality on it, because I don't really consider the final enemy to be a legitimate level 6, and I felt like the final villain was a bit flat.
Yeah. I'd give it I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Like, this show was pretty good. It would critically it gets a 6, but it gets a 7 because of enjoyment. Like, it get an extra point because of the enjoyment factor. Yeah. I have to be fair, but like, despite some of its flaws and stuff like that, it's a very good show. I kind of wish it had 24 episodes instead of 12.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so if we're not talking enjoyment, then I have to be fair. I'd have to say a 6.5. Because I do see a lot of the glaring problems that it has.
I just feel like it should be longer. Like, I feel like if it was longer, it would make it a bit more relevant, because, like, with, like, a certain magical index, like, you have a lot of arcs of Tomorindum and stuff. You do see, like, and with the other characters, like, you do see these little slippers, but with Accelerator, it's almost like you got a quarter of that. Because, like, Railgun had, like, 24 episodes for both of their seasons, I think, or 25. I think, like, they had a decent chunk, and I feel like... I don't know.
One person on a comment section said that Index Season 3 and Accelerator should have changed episode formats, where Season 3 of Index should get 12, and Accelerator should get 24. I'm in agreement in regards to that. Personally, yeah, I think entirely that Accelerator should get 24 episodes.
Yeah.
So we're in the same boat.
Yeah. So, takeaway: Accelerator, the Accelerator anime is great. You should watch it. And I think we're going to be done now, because this recording is about an hour and 20 minutes long. So,
ooh, okay.
Ran a little longer than I expected, but you know, fuck it. I'm not going to be releasing. I won't be releasing this at least for another few weeks. So, well,
thanks for having me on. Also, ladies and gentlemen, the music soundtrack album, according to, I believe, VMGDB or IMDb, says that it's out. The soundtrack is out on the 30th of October. So if you want to support the creators of the Accelerator anime, watch on Crunchyroll and buy the soundtrack, because I know that when I get my money in November, I sure as hell am buying it.
Yeah, I don't like Crunchyroll, but yes, buy the CDs, but don't support Crunchyroll. It sucks.
Well, I do agree. I just want their sponsorship.
Hey, don't fucking plug on my channel, boy.
I'm sorry.
Hey, you can chill on your channel, but not mine. I do not tolerate corporate shilling.
Okay, that's fair. But thanks for having me on anyway.
That's fine. It's good to have guests. So I'm going to stop the recording right now.